Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Mm.
Today we're going to be talking about whether Ismailis can consume alcohol.
Interesting topic.
Yeah, and it's not a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
We've actually got a couple of online articles and blog posts that we're going to be looking at that explore this question.
Okay.
And, we're going to be kind of going back in time a little bit.
Right.
And looking at some ancient wisdom from the Quran,
Yeah.
as well as some personal transformation stories that are pretty inspiring, and even take a peek into the modern-day Ismaili community.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Excited to dive in.
Yeah, me too. So, to kind of set the stage a little bit,
Okay.
many religions have guidelines about alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So where do the Ismailis stand on this?
Well, I think it's really interesting that, we have this 11th century Ismaili scholar, Nazir Khusra,
Yeah.
who, he was known to enjoy his wine
Oh.
to kind of escape his troubles.
I mean, who hasn't, wanted to pour a glass of something strong after a rough day, right? Right.
Exactly.
But what happened with Nasir?
So the story goes that he had this really vivid dream.
Oh, wow.
And in this dream, he was told that just numbing his mind wasn't true wisdom.
Oh.
The real wisdom was in confronting his issues
Mm.
and, allowing his soul to kind of soar.
Wow. A life-altering dream. That's pretty intense. I know I would be paying attention if my subconscious spoke that clearly.
Right. And so he took this dream to heart
Yeah.
and he gave up alcohol.
Okay.
And he went on this spiritual journey that eventually led him to the imam of his time.
So essentially he swapped a temporary escape for a lifelong journey of growth.
Exactly.
That's pretty inspiring. But how does this connect to the Ismaili perspective on alcohol as a whole?
Well, I think Nasir's transformation really embodies the core values at play here.
Okay.
And to understand this further, we need to look at the Quran,
Okay.
which is the central text of Islam
Yeah.
and the foundation for Ismailism.
Right.
Now, the Quran's approach to the prohibition of alcohol is actually done in stages.
Stages. So it's not just like a hard and fast rule from the get-go.
Exactly. So you see, it first acknowledges that there might be some benefits to alcohol,
Oh, interesting.
but makes it very clear that the harm outweighs the benefit.
Okay.
It's like weighing, pros and cons.
Yeah.
And this is laid out in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 2.219.
Gotcha.
And then it gets a little bit more specific.
Okay.
Surah An-Nisa, verse 4.43, forbids prayer while intoxicated.
So that's where that idea of spiritual clarity comes in.
Right.
You can't really connect if your mind isn't clear, right? It's like trying to have a conversation with someone who's half asleep.
Exactly. I love that analogy.
Thanks.
And then finally, you have in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verses 5.90 and 91,
Okay.
alcohol is explicitly prohibited.
Okay.
And it's actually referred to as defilement from the work of Satan.
So there's a progression there, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
building blocks leading to a really important point.
Exactly.
First, acknowledging some benefits, then focusing on the impact on prayer, and then outright prohibition.
Yes. And like you pointed out, the concept of spiritual clarity is kind of woven throughout. It's like the Quran is guiding, believers towards understanding that alcohol hinders our connection to the divine.
This is super interesting, but I got to ask, what about folks who, they enjoy a glass of wine with dinner?
Right.
Nothing crazy, not harming anyone.
Yeah.
Is that still considered sinful in the Ismaili perspective?
Well, this is where the guidance of the current Ismaili Imam Maulana Shah Karim al-Husseini Aga Khan through adds a really fascinating layer.
So we're bridging the ancient text to modern interpretation.
Precisely. In a 1965 interview, he said, "The thing which separates man from the animals is his power of thought. Anything that impedes this process is wrong. Therefore, alcohol is forbidden."
Okay, that's deep.
Yeah.
So it's not just about, getting drunk and making bad decisions. It's
Right.
about safeguarding our capacity for, clear thinking,
Exactly.
which then allows us to connect spiritually.
You got it. It's about recognizing that human intellect is this, divine gift, and we should do everything we can to protect it.
So we've got the Quran laying the foundation and a modern-day imam emphasizing mental clarity and spiritual connection.
Mm.
But where does this idea of community fit in? Is it just a personal choice?
That's a great question. And I think to answer that, we need to shift our focus to the impact alcohol can have on the community.
All right, let's dive into that. So the community aspect then is abstaining from alcohol seen as, a way to contribute to greater good.
Absolutely. In fact, in 1954, Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah,
Okay.
the 48th Imam, stated that the greatest danger to every Muslim citizen is alcohol. It is forbidden because it carries greater evil than good. avoid it at all costs.
Wow, that's a pretty powerful statement. It really kind of elevates the issue beyond just like a personal choice and highlights the potential consequences for the whole community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's, alcohol is seen as detrimental not just to individual growth,
Right.
but also to the collective strength and unity of the Ummah, which is the Muslim community.
I see.
It really emphasizes the idea that, our actions have a ripple effect impacting those around us.
It's really interesting, this concept of interconnectedness makes you think twice about, the choices you make, knowing they can have consequences beyond just your own experience.
Right.
But how does this perspective on alcohol navigate the realities of modern life, where, let's face it, alcohol is often really deeply ingrained in social gatherings and cultural norms?
That's a question I think a lot of people grapple with.
Yeah.
And the current Imam Maulana Shah Karim al-Husani Aga Khan IV actually offers some insight into this.
Okay.
He's spoken about the importance of progress, but without losing sight of your own identity and your values.
Okay.
And in a 2008 interview, he said, progress does not mean occidentalization. Progress in the Ummah means moving forward in quality of life, but not giving up your identity, not giving up your value systems.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. So he's saying that progress shouldn't come at the cost of, abandoning your core beliefs and traditions.
Exactly.
It's not about rejecting the modern world, but finding a way to integrate your values into it.
Precisely.
Yes.
And, this idea of occidentalization that the Imam mentioned refers to like the adoption of Western values and practices.
Right.
Often at the expense of one's own cultural heritage.
Okay, so it's not about like shutting yourself off from the world, but being mindful of the influences that you allow in and making sure they align with your own principles.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Navigating modern life.
Right.
While holding on to your core values. And I think that's a message that really resonates, far beyond just the Ismaili community.
Yeah.
It speaks to anyone who's trying to find their place in a world that can sometimes feel really chaotic and overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely. It's about remembering who you are or what you stand for, even amidst, a whirlwind of external pressures and expectations. It's like having a compass to guide you.
I love that. A compass to guide you.
Yeah.
Through the complexities of modern life.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think about, the Quran's approach to alcohol again.
Okay.
Remember how we discussed that, it doesn't just like outright condemn alcohol,
right,
but it acknowledges that there might be some benefits to it.
Right, like in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 2.219.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems to encourage critical thinking and self-reflection, urging individuals to kind of weigh the pros and cons for themselves.
It's about trusting people to arrive at their own conclusions rather than just like imposing a set of rules.
Exactly. And, this ties back to the emphasis on clarity of thought that we've been discussing.
Right.
It's about, making choices that enhance your ability to think critically, connect spiritually, and contribute positively to your community.
And if we circle back to Nasir Khusraw's story, it's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound changes come from letting go of things that might be holding us back, things that cloud our judgment and hinder our growth.
His transformation really illustrates that potential that's within each of us.
Right.
To embrace a path of learning, spiritual growth.
Yeah.
And positive contribution.
It's inspiring, right? Like this whole conversation has kind of shifted my perspective. It's not just about alcohol. It's about like a way of life, a mindset. It's about making choices that align with your values.
Yeah.
And understanding the impact those choices have on both yourself and your community.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's about living intentionally,
Yeah.
with awareness and a commitment to both personal and communal well-being.
And it's about finding that balance between navigating the challenges of modern life
Right.
while staying true to yourself and your beliefs. Right. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of it all and making choices that lead to greater clarity, personal fulfillment, and a more positive world.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of ground here exploring this fascinating topic from various angles.
Yeah.
We've delved into the Quranic basis. We've looked at the Imam's guidance.
Yeah.
We've seen how these principles come to life, through community initiatives and personal stories.
Right.
What do you think? Are we ready to bring this deep dive to a close?
I feel like we've just scratched the surface,
Yeah, it's amazing how much depth there is to this question.
Right. Like it seems so simple at first,
right,
whether Ismailis can consume alcohol, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
What's really stuck with me is like how these principles we've been talking about actually translate into action.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the Ismaili community has initiatives promoting well-being. Can you tell me more about those?
Absolutely. So many Ismaili community centers offer programs that promote healthy living, both physically and mentally.
Like what kind of programs?
So, think sports leagues, yoga classes.
Oh, wow.
Meditation workshops, even educational seminars on things like stress management and mental health.
So it's like a holistic approach.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying don't drink.
Right.
It's about giving people the resources and support to cultivate a balanced life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates this environment where people can connect with one another and develop healthy habits that benefit both themselves and the community.
It's about fostering a sense of belonging and shared responsibility for well-being.
Exactly.
This reminds me of Nasser Khusraw's story.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't just abstain from alcohol. He went on this journey of learning and became this renowned scholar and poet.
Yeah.
It's like his personal transformation had this ripple effect, inspiring others to strive for growth and knowledge.
Definitely. His legacy continues to inspire Ismailis today.
Yeah.
It embodies that idea that personal growth can have a profound impact on the community and the world around us.
Like a chain reaction of inspiration. It reminds us that change starts from within. And there's actually a verse from the Quran that comes to mind.
Okay.
Surah Ar-Ra'd, verse 11, which says, "Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves."
Wow, that's powerful.
It's about taking ownership of our choices,
Yeah.
and recognizing the power we have to shape our own lives and influence those around us.
That verse really speaks to the core of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's not just about following rules.
Right.
It's about cultivating this inner transformation that naturally extends outward, impacting our families, our communities, and ultimately the world.
So we've gone from exploring the Quranic basis to understanding the modern imam's guidance, and then seeing how these principles come to life through community initiatives and personal stories like Nasser Khusraw's.
Yeah.
It's striking how these principles of clarity, balance, and communal responsibility resonate far beyond the Ismaili community.
You're absolutely right. They're universal principles
Yeah.
that transcend cultural and religious boundaries and offer valuable insights for anyone seeking to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Regardless of our background or beliefs, we all have the capacity to make choices that enhance our well-being and contribute to a more positive world.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and striving to make choices that benefit not just ourselves, but those around us.
It's been a really enriching conversation.
Yeah, me too. I've learned so much.
I always appreciate the opportunity to delve into these profound topics and share these insights.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought to ponder.
Okay.
If, as we've discussed, clarity of thought is so key to spiritual growth and personal fulfillment, what things in your life might be hindering that connection? What could you let go of to create space for something more meaningful?
That's a great question to reflect on.
Yeah, and remember that the journey towards greater awareness and connection is ongoing. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving for that deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Until next time, fellow deep divers.